listening to the Dank Swamp Rebellion featuring Hick Cheramie.
I started in, I think it was 2018. My first gig was like this little independent horror film where they needed a homeless guy. And it was a girl who did, I don't know if y'all know Shani St. Pierre McMillan, Kane McMillan, Rats and Cats Customs. His wife, I was doing makeup on it, and she's like, yeah, come check it out and do it. So I went and I did, and I kind of, really liked the atmosphere and doing it. And the guy who was shooting me was like, man, you really look good on camera and stuff. And, when somebody tells you that, you just kind of, I guess, don't know how to react to it. Because you hear all these fucking stories and stuff.
You look really good on camera. You want to come back to my place?
Yeah. And he was like, man, get some pictures and send them into this place or whatever. And a couple months later, I was driving home and got a call to do. I didn't really believe who the person was, what they were saying they were, and they asked for my name, but they asked for Hick, and everyone knows me as Skip. So I got kind of paranoid because I'm like, this is either like the fucking law or the government, because those are the only two people.
Or somebody's trying to fraud your 401k.
Yeah, just no one calls me that, So I ended up through that booking getting a background role on NCIS. And I had a great time, and I loved doing it. And I got some good camera time on that episode. And I was driving home from Braithwaite, Louisiana. We filmed at a prison. I played a prisoner, and I remember it like pouring down. And I was thinking to myself, I'm like, this is probably it. I was like, that was like gonna be my like 15 minutes of whatever airtime or whatever they want to call it. And I was like, well, it was fun, and man, I'd already accepted that. I was like, this was it, and then I got called back, and I got called back, and ended up doing like 5 episodes of NCIS, Claws, Queen of the South, Filthy Rich, and I was doing a lot of this background work. But what's cool about being in that environment is you network a lot, and you meet a lot of people, and I was so fortunate enough to meet certain individuals in that field who have been such a vital role of me getting to where I am now. And, I did it for a little while, and then I started to dream a little bigger, man. I was like, I could do better than this. And, I had people come and tell me like, you have a look, and having a look is cool, but like, what are you going to do with it? Acting's a whole different craft, and it's something that I didn't know. I mean, I can look like they wanted me to look, but how do I act like they want me to act? Like, how do I bring a character to life? I was on the set of Antebellum, and I was fortunate enough to work with a lot of talented people in the cast, and one of those people who I still work with to this day said, man, you should like really go and study the craft of acting. And I thought about it, and it was crazy because we were talking about this before this interview started, is that I had set a goal for myself probably a couple months after I started background acting, because I was just like so into it. And I was like, in 5 years, I'm gonna work hard, and I'm gonna land my first speaking role. And it's crazy because I shot in Antebellum in May, and I started studying with this brilliant acting coach, Jim Gleason, and I studied with him for a while, and I studied with a couple other people, and I kind of started reading a lot on it, and just trying to figure out how to hone the craft and how to audition properly. And it's a whole nother game auditioning, because now everything is done like self-tape audition, and it's cool because you can mess up, and you can send in what you want to send in. But I did a live audition not too long ago. God, I'll tell you about that story. So anyway, so that time period was May, and then I studied all through the summer, and it was crazy because like I had to drive to New Orleans. Like I work in Amelia. Like I have an oil field job. I work for Danos, and I do project logistics and coordinating for them. And so like I was literally driving from Cutoff to Amelia, getting there for 6 and then working till 4:30 and then or trying to get out at like 3:30, like trying to do my work quicker. And it's still to this day when I film, like I have to have all my work done. And I was driving to New Orleans, like going back to cut off, shower, change, drive up to New Orleans and doing this like during the nights, and it was pretty rough, but I'm so glad I did because I learned the tools I needed to. And within 4 months after being in studying acting, I landed my first major supporting role as a speaking actor. And after that, it was just, in this industry, word of mouth is so important because they watch you walk and they watch, what kind of work ethic you got, and they watch, what kind of character you have and like how easy you are to work with or easy, you are to direct. And, there's a couple roles I've landed that I didn't even audition for. I got a call for a role and she was like, yeah, I was just talking to this assistant director and the boy said he worked with you. We were having a drink and, I'm telling him about the script and what I'm shooting. And she's like, you the one. Like I seen your pictures and I heard about how you work and how you, and so I've been fortunate enough to do that, and then live auditions. So, all that work kind of led up to like I guess where I am now, and I had no idea that I'd be starting 2021. I had no idea coming out of and like we still in this pandemic and whatnot, but I had no idea about like when September came around and started production started up again, that I would, have 4 bookings like right off the bat, and then 2021 hit and I'm stacked. Like I'm not gonna sleep for a while, And
so currently, what is the biggest movie you've done to date?
Let's see. I would say movie would be Antebellum, and I was in the Unhinged 2 with Russell Crowe, and then I did Money Plane, which I enjoyed.
Which, guys, if you have not seen Money Plane, it's freaking cool, man. It's such a good movie. Watch that. It's like I rented it for like I think it was like $3 for the HD version on Amazon. Definitely worth the watch. Go check that out. It's so good. And Antebellum is just a mind fuck. I watched it with my wife and I thought it was one thing, and then it was another, and then it ended on another note, and I was like, okay, I'm usually pretty good at reading movies and plots, I mean,
that's what made this one special.
Yeah, and it was shot really well.
It's visceral.
But yeah, it was. It reminded me of a lot of other movies from the past that I saw that were kind of like that blew my mind like that,
Mind fucky.
But I think the role that you played the most that I liked was in the movie Obsidian.
And I get so much positive feedback from that role because I just didn't feel like I did well. And like as an artist, I mean, y'all can probably like relate to this, is that you just, and I think that's what keeps our drive going. It's like we're never fucking satisfied with what we do.
Always critical.
Yeah, I mean, just so critical. And like I waited a little while to watch it, and when I did watch it, I was uncomfortable with a couple things I did because we see everything, we manifest in our head like what we want us to look like, right? Exactly. And that shit it never works out like that. But I think I did well. I think I did okay, and I enjoyed the story, and I enjoyed the cast and crew and working on that movie. It's always going to be very special to me because it was the first speaking role that I ever had, and it just got a special place in my heart. And we were talking about this earlier, she went for that type of movie, and I think that she got it, and we see in the results now in these festivals with it. You were asking about the biggest movie that I guess I've ever done, and that's studios and stuff, but these independent films are really big to me. But I was so lucky enough to do Your Honor with Bryan Cranston.
Yes.
And I did some pretty cool fucking movies.
Is Cranston like a cool ass dude?
He's a very cool dude. So where you see me serving his drink, he's sitting there.
He says 2 more. Or whatever.
And I'm like, and he stayed, him and I stayed like this, and we filmed that scene for like 8 hours. And so we got to talk a lot. And it was crazy because when I got to set, they get me behind the bar and they're like, just, improv this, improv that. We're going to give you like, I think I ended up saying one line. It was like 3 words, and I didn't. It's not like they never sent me any sides and shit. I kind of like just went into it blind, and so I look at the bar and they have 2 stand-ins, and I'm like, okay, well, there's 2 characters obviously that are gonna be in this scene, and they had a couple background in the like towards the back by the pool table. And I was like, okay, and I'm the bartender, and I'm doing this, and so I'm like trying to figure out what I'm gonna do, and I like ask some like little, some production assistant. I'm like, you have any money on you? Because I can be counting money or just props have money, and so I come up with this whole system in my head of this bar, and I'm calculating tonight's till when I'm doing all this shit. And as I like kind of got it figured out, I turn around, and when I turn around, the stand-ins are going, and fucking Bryan Cranston like standing right there, and the dude tells me this, like I still can't believe this shit. He looks me like dead in the eye, and he's like, "Hi, I'm Bryan."
No shit.
And I'm just like, like what?
Like, I'm the bartender.
Yeah.
I'm fangirling right now.
So I'm like, I'm Hick. It's nice to meet you. And he's like, Hick? And I'm like, yeah, Hick. I was like, I'm the 4th. I was like, oh, he was so like he was kind of interested in that name, and he was a really down to earth guy. He is more like the dad, the character in Malcolm in the Middle. He's a he could be real stoic looking, but when he talks, he's just so soft spoken and
nurturing
and yeah, it's like, oh, Walter White, like give me a hug.
So wait, he's not like he is in Power Rangers though.
No.
Whoa. Damn. Pulling back from the gap there, son.
That's bad.
If y'all ever look up his like first commercial, it was a Preparation H commercial, and he's in this like fucking brown early 80s polyester suit walking with a tube of Preparation H. But man, he's one of my favorite actors. Like he's so good, man. He's in like my top, 2 or 3 good. Maybe.
You've worked with Proctor too, and I'm a Proctor fan. I like that guy.
Yeah,
man.
I'll share my experience with Proctor with you. I fucking love that guy, man, and we're so close, and I've built such a great relationship with him. But Walter, I'm still on Walter over here. So working, with Bryan, man, he to watch him work is fucking crazy, because God, he's just so believable.
Absolutely.
I mean, any of his like comedic roles, where he's had any type of like, just a straight face but has a pithy line.
Right.
He reminds me. It reminds me of when Robin Williams used to do that. He used to be able to pull off just that blank stare.
Yeah.
Saying something kind of a little bit off, and it just nails, whatever little joke he's got right there. And I love that side of him too.
Yeah, it's a staple to what he does. It's like watching someone that's a virtuoso at what they do.
Right.
Like,
absolutely.
This guy's just...
It's got to be surreal, man.
Yeah. It is. Like I said, he's one of my favorite actors, and he's standing there and like he puts his pants on just like everybody else in the morning, but coming from what I'm passionate about, and that's the craft of acting and being in front of him and knowing how fucking brilliant he is. And then get to watch him work, and then get to interact with him, and it was funny because I was pouring him some heavy shots, some prop alcohol, and he's like, "You pouring these kind of heavy," and I'm like, "Well, you're in New Orleans, And I was like,
this is real.
I said, so not only like you're in New Orleans, I was like, but I'm a recovering alcoholic, and he kind of laughed at that. We talked a little bit about sobriety and stuff, and yeah, it was pretty surreal, man. To this date. I love everything I work in because I'm passionate about everything that I'm able to touch. But to this date, that was like my most grandiose moment is being in his presence.
A couple of days ago, we had Kyle Crosby on. Super awesome cat. Does a lot of production work, into a lot of shit. And he was like, I was only kind of like in one Toyota commercial. And I told him, I said, let me tell you something, bro. That's more than what a lot of these other motherfuckers are doing, sitting on their ass. Because the first thing is you got to take the step to do it. Okay, that's number one. It's to step out of your comfort zone to pursue what you're passionate about. And that's why some people like you, man, some people like him, like Cranston back in the day when he first started, it's the same thing. You got to take that first step in the right direction. And if you have a fire inside of you, you just got to chase it. And you got to chase it and chase it and chase it, and nothing's going to stop you. And it's always awesome to see. We preach on this show that the talent on the bayou, man, is so underrated and understated. You know, when it comes to acting, musicians around up and down the bayou, you name it, somebody's doing it, and they're doing it awesome. But because of, I feel like sometimes there's a stigma of the area because of what the media's put out there in the past. You know, that coonasses are a bunch of idiots running around and doing dumb shit, and it's like, no, we're actually pretty brilliant at what we're doing. You know,
I mean,
we have
we're
a lot
doing
of
that, but we're smart at it.
Yeah, we're just smart dumbasses. You know?
It's true, man. And if there's anything that Dank Swamp Rebellion stands for, it's being able to showcase this type of talent. So it's amazing to have you here, man. And we respect the grind, because that grind, not just anyone's capable of doing it. I mean, you said it yourself. I mean, you work in your day job, and then you got your night job. And your night job is the thing that you truly want to be doing with yourself and devoting your time to. But you have to be able to do the day job at the same time, and being able to split yourself up into two and still give both 100%. That's a very low, fraction of what people are capable of doing.
Yeah.
So
most people just don't have the heart for it.
Yeah, what I've learned, it's about letting go of control.
Absolutely,
it's
agree,
just
man.
about letting go of control. Even when I'm acting to get to what I need to get to, we stop ourselves from doing so much. But yeah, man, I want to talk about this for a second because it's close to my heart. You're talking about the bayou. Many years ago, and it's pretty open. I was a junkie and an alcoholic. The bayou was, I wasn't welcome too many places on the bayou. I'd caused a lot of trouble, and for many years people knew what kind of life I was living, and that, you talked about a lot of talent coming from the bayou, and there's so much talent on the bayou, and I completely agree with that. But the support that I get from the bayou is so amazing, man. I'm so fortunate that there's so many people who keep me going and keep me positive.
Because no matter how much of an asshole you were, you still family, Nag.
Yeah, exactly. So you're right about that. And the overwhelming support was I just booked this commercial for this local chain, this business chain, and I was sitting down last night. I was still tripping out over it. I'm like, I called my dad up because my dad knows the business owner. He knows the business, and I called my dad up. I was like, hey, he said, he's like 70, had a stroke, and he's just this old fucking hippie, and I'm doing all this big shit, and I'm like, this is so funny. I'm doing all this big shit, and I'm like, Dad, I got to do this. Oh, that's cool, man. He just lets it roll off his shoulder. Yeah. But if we in a local store and people are like, "Go, can I get a picture?" It's these old late 80s that were friends with my grandmother, and they see what I'm doing, and can we get a picture with you? And he's like, yeah, that's my son. Then he's all like proud. Yeah. Then he's all proud of it. But I called him last night. I'm like, I said, man, I'm tripping out. And he's like, what's going on? I was like, I'm thinking about I couldn't even walk into certain fucking businesses on this bayou, 10 years ago. And I was like, these people want me to be the face of their business, do a commercial for them. And he's like, oh, that's cool, man. The same fucking answer,
So grounded.
And he's so grounded. And, it's crazy because, these people who think that they are they fuck up something so bad, and trust me that you can always come back from it, and people usually give up by then. And it's just like with the acting thing, you were talking about going out there and getting it, and it's like you have to be hungry, you have to let go of control, because we stop ourselves so much. But going back to the bayou, man, they've been so supportive. It's so cool. I'm so fortunate.
We were super afraid that at one point that was kind of a dying tradition, and just the way things were, because we saw a generational gap, right? And him and I are in our 30s. I'm pushing 40, and it's you saw for a while that a lot of tradition was dying, but now all of a sudden there's this rebirth, Like you say all the time, people teaching their kids to throw cast nets, and how to fish, and how to hunt, and how to be outside and not be in front of an iPad, and how to cook, and how to duck hunt, and root shrimp, and do all of this stuff. because a rebirth is happening, and we're trying to promote that because people don't realize the importance of a close-knit community like that, because strength in numbers is everything. And I think on the bayou there's always been where when you're young you're kind of a hellion. You can't, in my late teens and early 20s all the way up until about 27, 28 years old, I was just like you, bro. I was just running hell, constantly just drinking all the time, doing as much coke as I could find, and just going wild. But and I'm not saying that's to be expected, because we are kind of a rough and tough bunch of kids. They don't have a whole lot to do when you're a kid besides outdoor type shit, fighting and crap like that. And but I think that's one thing that you do know is that, and our community understands that, yeah, you may have fucked up in the past, but as long as at some point in your life you realize that the path that you was on was the wrong one, and you completely change it.
Yeah.
There's no such thing as no second chance, in our communities and our families, because Cajun families are super tight knit. You can say that in a lot of different. The only other families that I think could be probably culturally a little tighter might be Latino people, because wow. But yeah, I'm super proud, and it's something we didn't appreciate as kids. I know I didn't appreciate it. I wanted to play music that didn't sound like Zydeco music, because that's what my grandpa listened to and my dad listened to my whole life. And you always try and change everything that you're pretty much taught, because you think it's not everything else in the world is cool to you, But at least we're reeling it in, man. We're reeling it right back in, and we're getting back on track with that.
Yeah, because it's a special place, and I've been many places, and there's nothing like it. There's just nothing. There's nothing like the place. I've been in the mountains, and just all over, and I've never ever experienced anything like our community. And I say community because that's what we are. We're such a communal system, and you talked about the the past, like it's things we didn't appreciate, and I was one of them people. I didn't really appreciate that. I wanted to get out there and do shit, and I ended up looking for happiness everywhere with this geographical change, and I ended up back on the bayou, and I'm very fucking happy on the bayou. It's a very peaceful place to me. I have only a couple family members left, but it's definitely my it'll always be a home to me. Yeah. And it's where I feel the most relaxed.
I'll tell people that are from the bayou, because we had a guy on the show at the beginning of last year, and he left because he had always been down Golden Meadow area his entire life. He moved to home as an adult. He's like, man, I just got to get away. And I told him, I said, you're going to Colorado, but something's going to bring you back. I've done it too, man. I've been all over the country. I've been out of the country, but something brought me home. Yep. Something always brings you home.
And you have to do it. You know what I mean?
Nobody's saying don't go do it. Go and experience life. Don't be scared of anything. That's one thing. The first time I ever left the state, I was like 16 years old, and I was terrified because I didn't know what was going to happen on the other side of a state line. And then once I broke that first one, it was done. I was like, oh shit, let's keep going. So yeah, man, I do like what's going on. We talk about it a lot because it's something that we love. We love the tradition of the Cajun people. And the fact that more and more movies and series and, man, there's so many things you watch these days, and you're like, man, that's Morgan City. Man, that's right. They're on 311 at the Plantation. It's like, shit, dude. They're doing a lot right now. It's like, to see that based in the South, that's freaking awesome.
Yeah. It's just I'm glad that there's just so many productions out here now, and it's and I see more and more people who have that dream.
Yeah.
Now they have the opportunity. There's a couple people when I started out who followed me along the way, and then in the past year, it's like, what do I do? Like, how do I go about this? And they put it in the work, and they get in there, and they still like me. We're constantly trying to evolve, constantly trying to work and get as further as we can, because we love to do it. And don't get me wrong. Now, one day I want that big check.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's what you chase.
Because the first big check I got, I donated that. What we're talking about to the Obsidian, the production, my first role. But my dad's was moved into my grandmother's house, and he had a stroke, and she ended up passing away, and he can't really see, so the taxes had lapsed for like, I'd say 4 years, maybe 3 years, and it got picked up in the auction. Sheriff's office does like the auction with the parish, and I had someone contact me about it, and I remember my first big check, like I went and paid off all the fucking taxes and like got the house back for him and just put everything, and but like I want that big check, like I want to, I always say this, I don't work for my first name, I work for my last name. Yeah. Because I have a son and a daughter, and I want to be able to help them financially, and don't get me wrong, there's a passion for it, but one day I want to pay out, there's things I want to do and things I want to get, and for my children, and so hopefully one day I do. That's what I think we all striving for, is to to become financially secure with it.
I think it's a little off topic, but I think that everybody wants to know, is it a stunt beard, or you ever use like a stand-in beard, or
is this growing yourself?
Is there certain beard oils that you want to,
Where's the plug, man?
Essential.
It's funny because I did a music video filmed last weekend, and it was pretty fun, and there was sword fighting in it.
And whoever did the stills for that, they got a good eye.
That's Chase Garcia. I work with Chase Garcia a lot. He's a cinematographer, and he's also a director, and he's a young man, and he's so talented. I love working with this guy. When I first met him, I'm like, oh, this kid, he's a man, and he knows what he wants, and he has a vision, and his work ethic is really amazing. And so he actually contacted me about the video, and he's like, man, it's this part's for you, and this is what you got to do. And I always play this bad guy villain type character, and I'm completely opposite of that in like real life. And so I'm like, yeah, sure. Like I didn't even ask him what it was about. I didn't even ask him who the band was. So it's this band who does like music, anime and shit, and which was a world that I knew nothing about. I'm like, what the fuck's a weeb?
That's great. That's great.
Like,
See, right there with you.
Thank you for listening to the Dank Swamp Rebellion. Tune in Saturday for part 2 featuring Hick, Cheramie.